Okay, I think let's get started. Um, I'm Sam Bogoch, CEO of Axle AI, and on the call with me today, I have two other members of our management team, Patrice Gouttebel, who's our VP of Products, and Katie Scott, who's our VP of Operations. And what I thought we would do for today's call is just start with kind of some introductory comments. Then I'll hand it over to Patrice for maybe a 5-minute demo of our new Ascribe product, which we'll be launching next week, actually. And we also have a partnering announcement with that due out the week after, which we can't unfortunately disclose too many details about, but we can give a general idea of where that's headed. It's pretty exciting. Um, so we can sort of talk about maybe the past, present, and future of Ascribe, which is our most recent product. So with that, let me first of all, again, thank everyone for joining. And what I may be able to do in the first couple of minutes is just give an overview of what we do for folks who are not familiar with Axle. So Axle AI is a largely bootstrapped software company based in Boston, and we do software that helps video teams search and remotely manage their media content. Uh, and these customers range from everything from corporate video to churches, government agencies, sports venues, ad agencies, brands, you name it. So it turns out that video is, of course, a very rapidly growing phenomenon worldwide. There are hundreds of thousands of teams doing this type of work, and we see ourselves and are increasingly being seen as the place where these teams can get access to their internal media, much as you would, let's say, out on the internet with YouTube, but instead of searching public media, you're searching your own media. And this can be surprisingly challenging because a lot of these teams will have hundreds of terabytes of video content. So as you can well imagine, sorting through that, tagging it, searching it is a real challenge. And obviously with COVID-19, there's been a whole explosion of needs for people accessing their media remotely. Up until COVID, I would say the majority of the work in this space was done in a very old-fashioned kind of crafts way, where people would hand each other hard drives and say, hey, here, take a look at this. Usually sitting in the same room, leaning over each other's shoulder, all these things that at the moment, of course, are not even possible. So suddenly they've had to distribute themselves, work from home. Many freelancers were already doing aspects of this, but not to this extent. So we just did a joint story with one of our best customers, American Public Television, last week, that highlighted how they were able to transition to a COVID-defined workflow within a matter of days using Axle. And actually, for those that want to check out that story, it's at tinyurl.com/APT-COVID. But I'll put that out in the chat when Patrice starts with his demo. But they're only one of many Axle customers that are making the same transition very rapidly. We're also getting a lot of new inquiries from customers that were only working in-house and were able to make do with the old kind of Stone Age approaches. And clearly those do not work when you're spread out and having to work remotely. So all of that drives a lot of extra demand for our product because it is browser-based and lets people take very high-res media, even 4K and 8K media, and essentially view it through their browsers, because we make a low-res proxy version of that media, and then apply the AI techniques that Patrice will be talking about today to that content as well to make it searchable. So all that being said, it's still obviously a very uncertain time, and so we're all just doing what we can to kind of power through it. And so far, I would say we're very pleased at how things are looking. But with that, let me switch the topic to Ascribe, because that's a product that we have only had out for a few months now. We announced it in November of last year, got it really shipping in December. And this is essentially a plugin for Adobe Premiere. that does transcription of video content. And Premiere is the leading video editing software on the market right now. We came out with it because we thought it was a good opportunity to highlight what's great about Axle, this ability to search and get, for instance, speech information into your timeline so that you can find stuff. And Patrice will be showing that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the version of Ascribe that we'll be launching next week, which is a standalone application. Both the Premiere panel and the standalone app are available for both Macintosh and Windows. And that will be true, as I mentioned, for the new standalone app. And then maybe after Patrice's demo, we can talk a little bit about the strategic possibilities with this product, because it clearly gets us in touch with a very wide base of the market. My former experience at Avid, and I think the experience of several folks on our team, is that we were catering to the very top of the video market, the large broadcasters and movie studios. And as folks know, that is a fairly limited market. There's probably only a few thousand of those customer sites worldwide, even with the recent boom in content from people like Netflix and Hulu and Apple. The next tier down, which is where Axle has been targeting as we've been bootstrapped these last few years, is kind of the mid-sized production teams, and typically 3 to 30 people. They do have budget for products like ours, but there's also the freelancers and the base of that pyramid, folks that only collaborate occasionally, smaller projects, mom and pop post-production houses. Those people are who we're targeting with the Scribe. And we're already seeing some very interesting cross-pollination where people contact us about a Scribe, but are also candidates for our larger products. So with that, I think I will hand it over to Patrice, who can talk about, as I say, the past, present, and maybe a little about the future of a Scribe.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sam. And welcome, everybody. So I'm just going, before I share my screen, take a small step back and just describe what is our thinking with the Scribe. As Sam talked about the pyramid here that we of the target, typically big software companies will go after the top of the pyramid where the big money is. But what about everybody who is doing video? They still need tools, and this is where we are coming in. We provide a media management tool that will allow company to find their clip easily with some AI bits to it. And it is still a little bit too much of a niche for a company to expect to grow dramatically. And we want to actually grow a lot. And this is why we are coming with Ascribe. So Ascribe is pretty much a freemium tool that anybody who does video can download. And our goal will be to have a subscription model for everybody who needs to actually create transcript. And we will want to expand that later on further to other type of AI, such as facial recognition, object detection, and so on. But for now, we are focusing on a transcript. And subscription-based model, or just buy on demand, basically add on blocks what you need. This is a perfect mix to reach everybody, those who prefer to buy blocks versus those who want to have a monthly subscription, pretty much like a phone line rollover minutes. And what do you get with it? So as Sam mentioned earlier, we start with Adobe Premiere Pro, which is a video editing software. So this is the #1 tool that people will go to edit the softwares. You have other tools such as Final Cut Pro from Apple. You have also Media Composer from Avid, or Final Cut Pro, that's already mentioned, Final Cut Pro, or DaVinci Resolve, which is getting in popularity right now. So these are the main video editing solutions, Premiere Pro being the most used. And we simply added an extension to it. So this is something that people can just go in and download, and then they will just launch the extension, and you have a brand new window that appears here within my Premiere application that I can just, for example, snap it right here. And I have something that is integral part now of my video editing solution. And just like the name says it, I just want to transcribe some footage. Now, I'm not going to really spend too much time transcribing it. So, and because I'm sharing my screen, it's going to be slow. So I'm just going to do a small bit here. I'm going to take, let's take these 15 seconds of this clip. So I can actually select a small segment, choose the language, that I want to transcribe to, and hit transcribe. And the first thing it's going to do is actually, it's going to export the audio, and when it is done exporting the audio, it is going to transcribe. And I don't want to actually, oh, I do not have enough minutes for that. Let's change the, apologies for that. Let's actually grab another token, which will actually
Good opportunity for our investors to see the subscription portal that we have.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So
I know you didn't plan that, but you know,
no,
here we
but
are. So.
yeah, it's actually a lucky mistake. Let's call it a lucky mistake. So I'm just going to log in with another username here, and I have 14,000 minutes. I simply need to give myself an API key, and that's it. That's all people will need. So they need to sign up. They enter the payment method. They choose a subscription or not, and they are ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to add my minutes. And here we go. Now I have my 14,000 minutes. I have my clip here. Can go in and transcribe. And now I'm starting the export of the audio. And I'm just going to exit and show you the standalone app, what is actually coming. So this is the past. It is coming up. And whenever it's ready, I will have a transcript of what is being said that I can then use for captioning, or I can use for searching and finding my clips. Now we are also developing, so that's still a niche, too much, like the growth will not be there. It's still too much of a niche. It's just for video editors. What about everybody else? Because you have a lot of things that will need to have a transcription. So we are developing a standalone app. Although I am demonstrating it right now on Mac, do know that we are coming also with a PC version. And same thing for this extension, whether or not you're on Mac or PC, it is going to run. So moving on to the standalone app that is going to ship next week, that is actually the present slash short-term future that Sam was talking about earlier. And you will see that I have basically a bunch of videos that I have already processed. Again, we don't really want to watch me process videos. Sorry about that. The Premiere work is coming up. So for example, if I have a YouTube video, let's say for a TED Talk, and as you can see, I have the transcript on the left side, I have the transcript here. So I can use it to basically search, edit, and I can then export my transcript, and I can use it for video editing, such as SRT for Premiere or Final ITT for Final Cut. Or I can export just a TXT, and I will say just webinar.
By the way, Patrice,
desktop.
one little thing, you may want to hide the Premiere behind it because it's a little confusing. Maybe not for us, but you've got both things on the screen.
Sorry,
So,
yes, good point. Thank you, Sam. Good point. So here's the standalone app. So I just did an export into TXT, and it is in my desktop now. So bringing my Finder window, going to my desktop, I should have the webinar.txt right here. And this is the text that is appearing. And of course, it is not perfect. It needs some edits, but you can easily just go in and edit the text. And that is the Scribe Mac app. And of course, you can actually do other applications. So I did a video on YouTube, the same video that I talked about. This is an interview right here. And you can actually change the playback speed to edit live at a slower speed. So if you need to make it very useful. It can be a keynote speech, for example, Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone in 2007. As you can see here, or it can be a Zoom meeting. So for example, you have Sam and I getting into a Zoom meeting, and you have the transcript that is showing up. So I send a recording, or it can be a whole webinar, can be an audio files, everything that you need. We're actually just going in and transcribing. That can be a very powerful tool. Let's go back to Premiere now and see the 3 lines that I have done, small edit. And again, so this is something that I can then export. And I'm just going to create a new file here and to the desktop again. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to show you how I can do captioning now directly from this little panel. I created a file that I bring it going slowly. On my desktop, I have a new file, SRT, which is the gold standard for captioning tools. I bring it inside my Premiere project right here. And here we go. I have now the captioning happening live. So of course, you will need to make some edits, and I can go back to the panel, to the scribe panel here to make some edits. So if I need to edit, I can edit it. I can search for it, and there you have it. And it will continue to follow the media because we save it as markers. So there is no database, but if I send this media to somebody else, they will still have the transcript available if they were to have the scribe. And that was the scribe demonstration. And with that, Sam, I will hand it back over to you and see if we have any questions.
Thanks, Patrice. Super. So to summarize, again, we've had the Premiere panels out for about 5 months. There's been a lot of activity around them. We've gotten over 1,000 inquiries on the web. Smaller number of actual subscribers, so we're not getting too excited, but it is definitely generating a lot of traffic and enthusiasm. And as Patrice pointed out, having a standalone app rather than just the Premiere panels will open it up to basically anybody with a Mac or PC, which is a pretty broad audience. We are also developing some of the code in a way that is portable, so that the code base for the PC version could in fact be in the future something for Chromebooks or for smartphones. There's a variety of things we can do with that code base, but for right now we're really just focused on Mac and Windows. Now, just to talk briefly about the near future, these products are going to get announced next week, and then we have a partnering announcement the week after that with a major cloud vendor. So we're pretty excited about that. It helps get us outside of this relatively technical niche that we've been in, and admittedly building a name for ourselves in that niche. But the question is, how do we get wider exposure to folks at large who work with media files? And we can't, unfortunately, disclose who that announcement is with or the exact date, but stay tuned and we should have information for you literally in a couple of weeks. With that, I think we should see if there are questions, because the point of the call was a Q&A and there's about 10 minutes left. We can run a little long if needed, so feel free. But also, if there are questions now, that would be great.
Yeah, there is one question. The main competitive advantage of the transcription with a scribe. There is, it's not really the only advantage that you have is the cost here compared to other people. I'm not sure if Sam mentioned it earlier, but the typical price for movies or TV stations to get the subtitling done is roughly $2 per minute of video. It's actually pretty expensive. We are charging a little bit less than $2 per hour of video analyzed. And the reason we can do that is because we are using AI. The other services are using human factors, so they actually need to pay these people. Luckily, computers are not asking for wages yet on our side. So now that also means that the accuracy is going to be higher on the when it is done by a human versus a computer. A fun fact is, actually, it's a vision API a computer will use, not a listening API for picking up the words. And why is that? Because it's actually binary inside a computer. You need to have a binary view. So do I know this or not? And what they will use to know whether or not if this word is the waveform. So in any case, so if I have somebody with a strong accent like me, or when you get to jargon that I'm not really known, or names, you may have actually some moments where the accuracy is going to drop and you will need to correct it. But other than that, the price is actually the main advantage. And we are expecting actually a huge adoption rate for a lot of people that did not know it was possible to have transcriptions, but yet when they are going to compare the price, even if the accuracy is not as perfect as they wish, we expect the adoption rate to actually not only be there, but plus, thanks to the fast adoption, then the technology is going to only evolve from where we are. So it is going to improve. The AI bit is going to improve, just like for facial recognition, where before it has a hard time, and now you will see that even on your phone, it's hard to actually find a picture that your phone does not recognize you, for example.
And just to add a little more detail, obviously there are other AI-driven transcription tools,
yeah.
But they're generally not freemium. What we're saying is just download the software and get started. The ones that we compete against either charge significantly higher per hour rate, or they charge a bunch of money up front. So we feel like we have a unique combination of zero on-ramp cost plus a very aggressive per hour cost. And we also have a lot of gross margin built into that based on our kind of underlying technology stack. So we can drop that price and expect to drop that price significantly over the next 18 months. It's our sense that if we can keep pushing the cost curve down, that within a matter of 2 years, essentially it won't make sense to shoot video without having it automatically transcribed and tagged in some way. Because if you look at the cost of actually shooting the video, it's far higher than the $1 or $2 an hour that it might cost to do this level of analysis. So we want to popularize that notion. And of course, the more metadata that people have with their videos, the more it drives demand for tools like our flagship product that let you search and manage large amounts of that video and metadata content. Okay, other questions? And for some reason, I'm not seeing the Q&A panel. I have the chat functionality, but
Yeah.
let's see.
It looks like so far the questions are in the chat and on the Q&A.
Okay, great. Yeah. All right, any other questions? We've got about 5 minutes left, but let's see. What can we help with? One thing I should mention, actually, we're obviously available in if you think of something, but not on this call. We've been doing these calls weekly, and happy to also answer questions in the threads on the Republic site. I found that that's a pretty good forum for Q&A, and it seems like there's some pretty knowledgeable questions popping up there, so that's a good thing. We are also pushing out announcements to the Republic site as they occur. So for instance, next week's Ascribe rollout will be on the site. Also this week, we're doing a relatively, let's say, routine update to our connector product, which is the workflow tool. And that will also get posted to the public site. So for the next few months, it's probably a pretty good place to stay abreast of what we're doing. You can expect to see a bunch more information there. All right, well, unless there, I mean, we'll do like going once, going twice, but unless there are additional questions, I think we can adjourn. Again, I'm Sam at Axel.ai, Patrice is Patrice at Axel.ai, and Katie is Katie, K-A-T-Y, at Axel.ai. So thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to continuing the dialogue. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.